That was beautiful.
You had 3 that time.
That was beautiful. Almost as beautiful as the Buckeyes winning the national championship last night. We have, as Bo mentioned earlier, 2 former champions with us, so the floor is yours.
Yeah, guys, you know what's funny is that first drive by Notre Dame, they have it for like almost 10 minutes.
Yep.
They methodically move it down the field.
It didn't matter. I don't want to finish your sentence
No,
here,
go ahead.
but I think I'm going to the same place.
Yeah.
I watched that whole thing. I'm like, wow, that's all they got.
It felt that way, didn't it?
It felt like they just gave us their best punch. It took them 1,900 plays to get down there in the whole quarter, and they got a touchdown.
And that was it.
Basically it.
And they were done.
Yes.
Once Ohio State scored, especially, I was like, they're in trouble, even with this drive. And then Ohio State scored, and then I said, oh, it's over.
Yes.
It's 7-7. And I'm no college football expert, but go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, Bull.
No, it's fine.
No, the first drive, it literally reminded me of when we played Oregon. You know, the first drive, Oregon went down, boom, punches right in the mouth, touchdown. And then it was like, all right, how are we going to respond? Ohio State responded exactly how we thought they would. And you got to give the players and the coaches, you know, some credit here. They went out there and figured out, okay, they want to run Riley Leonard, this is what we're going to do. The way to stop this is what Notre Dame did so well in their first drive was that they got to 3rd and manageable and 4th and manageable. We need to be, when we get to 4th down, we need to be 2 or less, and we can get that with the quarterback run. Ohio State said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to win on 1st down and make it 2nd and 15 because you don't have anybody that can get you explosive plays that make up those yardage. So the defense did a really good job, and then obviously the funny thing to me is that they was in such a bind because they wanted to run man-to-man, but they don't have a pass rush. They can't run zone because if you're going to run zone, you better have a pass rush. But the people that they had man-to-man couldn't stick with Ohio State wide receivers, not for 4 quarters. So I knew that this game was going to go the way that it went. At some point, like, you just don't got the Johns and the Joes for it. I respect them what they did at the end. You know, that Jaden Greathouse kid was the guy that I literally kept telling everybody about. So he's the only wide receiver that's got some juice to him. And he went out there, I think he had 128 yards and 2 touchdowns, but it still wasn't enough. But Marcus Freeman, to me, is definitely a great head coach. He's probably going to have them in that national title run. They got to figure out some things at some certain places, keep guys healthy. But it was a good game overall. I mean, it could have been a blowout. I respect them for making it look respectable at the end.
Yeah, I, as Bull said there, watched that opening drive, and it was like, okay, that was cute. You know, they went down the field, they got the touchdown. Once Ohio State responded with their drive, I said to the group of folks I was watching the game with that this is over. Like it's gonna be easy. And frankly, I think it could have been way worse.
They took their foot off the gas.
Ohio State took their foot off the gas. I thought, you know, basically the entire second half. I mean, they could have named the score of that game easily. They went into, you know, obviously chew the clock mode.
Well, that's my one knock on them.
In the second half. If that were Urban Meyer,
oh my God,
they would have won that game.
We'd have walked right in that locker room. What was it, 21-7?
It would have been a 50 bird.
He would have said, listen to me right now. Nobody said that this game had to be close.
Yeah.
This SOB ain't got to be close. We didn't make those rules. So y'all go out there, we're going to keep it going all night, boys, all night. And I'd have been turned up. I'd have tried to get like 10 pick sixes.
Listen, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that like Ryan Day's a bad
guy. No, not at all.
There's more than one way to win a game, and they won the game. They won the national championship. It's fantastic. Yeah. We are cocky Ohio State fans, and so we want to win by 50 every game, so it felt better today. But at the end of the day, Ryan Day,
yeah, kudos to him. He deserves credit.
He kicked the field goal and covered the spread, baby.
That's the only thing you care about.
Well done.
Right? Like,
a lot of Buckeye fans that want you fired don't want you fired anymore.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Oh, that's true.
I'm going to tell you this. So
covered the spread.
They pulled the deli. They pulled the deli in the first drive. So Riley Leonard comes out there, and you know Deli, when he's playing against the Warriors, the dude almost died. He was playing so hard. I knew it was a wrap when they was like, yeah, Riley Leonard carried the ball 9 times on that drive. I'm like, this game about to be over at like 10 o'clock. And they said he went to the sideline and immediately gave up his dinner. I said, oh.
They did
let me just tell you.
They definitely said.
Let me just tell you this. Like, for those that don't know, do you know for a seasoned, conditioned athlete that is a veteran, do you know how much physical exertion it takes for you to give it up on the field?
A lot.
you got to be doing like this is strength and conditioning stuff, and like it's a problem because they put trash cans around the field on the stairs. They're like, yeah, let's get the stations ready because this is gonna be a rough one.
The station is around. You got to do the drill around the trash can.
Hey, get to the side, give it up, and then get back in line. When they say he gave it up, I said he ain't got nothing left. They have the linemen look tired, and then they came back and to have an upset. What you got to do is you got to not only get that first score, you have to get a 3 and out.
Yeah.
You got to get the 3 and out or a turnover, and then put another field goal on them, and it's 10. You up 2 scores now. Mm-hmm. Now you can go ahead and hold them off at bay. But when Ohio State went down and scored, I said, "Oh, it's a wrap."
Another thing that happened.
It's a wrap.
Another thing that happened over the course of that game, when I knew it was like done, like it was done to me at halftime, but when I knew like it was signed, sealed, and delivered, like printed T-shirts, was when it was. Ohio State was up by 16. Notre Dame drove down the field, and they elected to kick a field goal instead of going for it. It was like 4th and 4.
I actually agree with the call.
No.
Really?
I would have went for it. It's so hard to get down there. I would have just – your odds of getting back down there is slim to none.
But here's the thing. Knowing Ohio State was going to sit on the ball, and knowing – like I looked at the clock, there was like 9:27 left when they kicked the field goal. You take away all the 2-point situation.
Right.
So you make it a true 2-score game. Mm-hmm. And again, they missed it. So at the end of the day, you can be like, they were, whatever. They should have went for it.
I'm going out aggressively.
I didn't have a problem with it. Because of the amount. If there had been 7 minutes left, I'd have been like, hey, you can't do it.
You could argue either way. I think in the NFL, I'm definitely going for it. But I could see why Notre Dame. Because
hasn't their kicker been struggling?
The kicker's been terrible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The kicker been struggling.
It wasn't that far of a kick, was it? It was like 45?
Like not even.
There's a couple of guys.
Yeah, I'm going for it.
In that game, well, you get ready to hear it because we talked about it. Get ready to hear it. The legend of Will Howard. People, listen, I was doing a post-game show yesterday, and the topic of conversation is Will Howard. Now, I'll give him credit for it. I told Tyvus about this how many years ago? I said he's the Western version of Tim Tebow.
You said he like Josh Allen. I said, hey,
listen. Right now he's college. He looked better than Josh Allen in college.
Hey, G, we're gonna do the whole Will Howard draft stuff in a sec, but I want to ask about Ryan Day real quick.
Well, I was going to get to that, Mike.
Perfect.
Let me do that now because. I, in particular, have destroyed Ryan Day and shit on him for the last year and a half, and he shoved it back at, he don't give a rat's ass about me, but everybody that's been crapping on him, he's owed an apology by everybody.
Is he?
Why? Yeah, everybody
You're
says
right.
that.
Not an apology. That's the wrong word.
Why is that?
Yeah.
No, I woke
right.
up and seen that this morning. Like,
You're right.
Why is he?
You're right. And I hate when people say you're owed an apology, so I shouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
What he's owed is credit for what he did.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of the criticism was fair. You're right. There's no apology needed. It's a lot of credit. Don't try to take away his credit now, saying, oh, they're so talented. Yes, we get it. They're so talented. But to win this first college playoff, and I know most of the games in the entire college playoff were not close, but to win 4 games against 11 of the best teams in the country is a very hard thing to do. It's not easy to win a playoff.
Yeah,
and
right.
to win 4 games again, we could. We all get up there. Oh, this team's not good. Tennessee's not that good. Oregon.
It ain't gonna be none of that.
Well, they beat half the playoff field.
That's what.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not going.
Exactly.
You
So
can't.
the coach
They beat Penn
deserves a
State
ton of
and
credit.
Indiana too.
Exactly. You're right. And if you want to say Tennessee and Oregon and Texas are no good, well, then nobody's any good. So what's the point?
Yeah, no.
Tennessee, Oregon, and Texas are clearly 3 of the 10, 12 best teams in the country. And Ohio State just beat them all easily.
Handily.
Plus, as you said, they beat Indiana easily during the regular season.
And Penn State.
And Penn State. That game wasn't
not
easy.
easily,
That
but
game
it was
wasn't
on the
easy.
road. And they
But
won.
all these other games, they killed them.
It's the first time I can literally say that there is no way that you can say the best team didn't win. In this format, if you win like this,
100%.
they are the number 1 team. There's no split. There's you can't even hate.
They had the toughest road. Like before we even got to the end, I said if they win a natty, like they would have to slay the SEC demon, the Oregon demon, all those things, and like all these things. So there's no way that you're gonna look at this and diminish it in any way. You look at anybody else's path to get into the championship, it was not as hard as Ohio State.
And I know Michigan fans are like, I still saw Michigan fans like, well, we beat you. Who gives a shit? Nobody cares anymore. The rivalry is not the same.
There's people that care.
There's people that care, but the rivalry is not as meaningful.
We had people in the Tyvus and I did a post-game show
Yeah.
last night, and I'm not kidding. It blew my mind. Tyvus had to explain this to me. We had people that were saying he gets 10 hours of reprieve, fire him tomorrow, like
That's
Ryan
just
Day.
stupid.
And
That's
I asked
just
Tyvus, I said, Tyvus, when you go into a season, like, how do you compare the goals? Beating Michigan, winning the Big Ten, winning a national championship. And he said those are the three things every year. And this season, Ohio State accomplished one of three, but I have to assume winning the national championship, the other two don't matter if you win the Natty, right? Like, that should be pushed out the way, but I'm not 100% sure that's the case for Ohio State fans.
Yeah, and by the way, I'll mark it down right now coming from a Ryan Day hater, because I still don't like the guy personally. But Ohio State will destroy Michigan next year because the pressure's now off, I think, and maybe you could argue it's still on because he hasn't beaten Michigan, but I think after winning a national championship,
it's also, I think, going to take a lot of pressure off of the players and coaches because they're gonna go into that game and they won't feel like if they lose, their jobs are on the line.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to feel like a big game.
Yeah.
It's going to feel like the Browns are playing the Steelers.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a big game.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You can still win a title.
That's right.
Whoa.
What?
Stop saying it don't matter.
It matters, but I mean,
It doesn't matter as much as it used to, right?
No, you can say like that, but don't say it don't matter.
One thing that
Y'all
matters.
gotta cut that out. I'm sick of y'all saying that.
I'm gonna tell you this. One thing that will matter is the blueprint on how you get it. Hey, listen. Hey, all you grandpas that get off my lawn type dudes, the Dabo Sweeneys. I'm gonna tell y'all something right now.
Dabo got his first dude out the portal.
Y'all ain't never gonna win unless you ante up and pony up and pay this money. Y'all can sit back and retire like Saban and you play your, get on your high horse. But I'm gonna tell you something right now. See, Ohio State, we talked to Gene Smith. Gene Smith was trying to pay him years ago. Y'all better, SEC, y'all might want to get on it because listen, man, they paying guys and paying them well. And guess what? When you get a dude like Jeremiah Smith, he's coming back. And when they got Caleb Downs out of the portal, one of the best safeties, college safeties I've seen in a very long time. When Ohio State is getting them type ball players and they paying them and they renewing them and they get new dudes, think about it. They might get your best, but hey, Ryan Williams, hey, you want to come up here and play?
This the thing about that. Though.
What y'all talking about?
Because RG3 was like, the moral of the story is pay $20 million. The fact of the matter is Texas and Oregon both had higher NIL payrolls than Ohio State. So it's not just ponying up the dough. Like, it's not that. You got to be able to develop these kids. You got to make sure that these kids mesh with the guys that's currently on your roster. And I think when you look at this Ohio State team, the guys that they went and got, the Quinn Shines and the Caleb Downs, like, those were key pieces.
Those were the two best transfer portal kids. Two.
Exactly.
Yeah. They're the best.
But what I'm saying is they meshed with the rest of the team well.
People don't understand, Tyvus, that it's not easy to just go get a really elite talent and put him into a locker room and say, this guy's going to fit.
Yeah, like it's
not
a chemistry
that
thing.
You're right.
Like those guys came in and people, like they came in and they worked as hard as they possibly can. I always tell the story about Davison Igbinosun. He got transferred in here 2 years ago, number one, the corner. He came in here. After this was Denzel's freshman year. Denzel, after his freshman year, everybody's like, Denzel is the next number one corner, blah, blah, blah. And they ended up getting IGB. IGB came in there and he was like, I don't care who you are. I'm the number one corner over here. And what it did was everybody else in that defense was like, hold on, wait a minute. This dude is a competitor. So, like, nobody could rest off of their morals anymore. Everybody was like, I got to compete because this dude is in here talking trash. He competed. And what it did was it got a swag and an aggressiveness in the secondary. Then you start seeing everybody start trash talking and start acting like that. But it was perfect that they went and got a guy that can have that impact. You go get a Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs was a guy that knew more than probably the coaches did. So now I got a smart guy back there that's essentially a coach on the field that's holding me responsible. So now I got a guy that's changed my whole attitude. Then I got a guy that I got to make sure that I'm prepared for because he expected me to know the same stuff that he knows. So now I'm a smarter football player. Like all of those things matter to what changed this entire defense to make them become what they were. So you can just go in there and pluck guys, but you got to make sure that those guys that you bring in, that locker room is going to accept and be able to still produce on the football field. And Ohio State did a really good job of doing that. Like I said, I always want to say shout out to those collectives and shout out to those donors, man, because we sit there and we'll talk about how Ryan Day did all this and that. Yes, he did, and he deserves all of his flowers. But I don't want the collectives to get lost, because those guys are the ones that's dealing with having to deal with the agents, making sure this player is happy, make sure they getting X amount of dollars. And then you got those donors that's writing checks for these kids and stuff like that to keep the program going, to keep this kid from leaving or trying to make sure that this recruit, we don't lose this recruit. So it's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and I want those people to also get their flowers, which I personally sent them all thank you text messages last night, because, like I said, everybody's happy that we won, but I also want to make sure that the right people get their flowers as well.
Oh, and by the way, we might as well go ahead and say it. We make sure you get your flowers. How many of these players on the roster you done dealt with, huh? How many people you done brought to the table?
I'm just a former athlete, bro.
See, we go behind the table.
I'm just the radio guy.
Behind the scenes,
I'm just the
media member over here.
Y'all need to give this man his national championship ring, because he had a lot of these dudes. A lot of these dudes that got transferred in.
We good.
And a lot of these dudes that got transferred in.
We good.
I heard Tyvus was on the phone with him, like,
talking to their parents.
He had to leave the studio talking to folks.
No, we good.
Make sure he gets that championship ring.
Hold on, listen. I ain't had nothing to do with any of this stuff, man. This was all the incredible staff at Ohio State, those players figuring out what's important to them, all of them realizing that, you know, maybe it's not just all about me. You know, it's about the guy that's next to me. You know, I'm going to go out there and play as hard as I can for the guy next to me. It's about those younger kids realize, like a Jeremiah Smith and a Caleb Downs, realizing like, yeah, this might not be my senior year, but those seniors that's up there right now whose last year it is, like, this is their last shot for them to even have a mark in Ohio State history. So I'm going to go out there and sell out and do everything I can for those guys. Like, that's who deserves the credit. Those incredible seniors, man, who I don't think they ever beat the team up north, and they've never been to Indianapolis to play in the Big Ten championship, which is terrible to say out loud. But if they had not completed this goal, think about 10, 15 years from now when they have kids. Hey, let's go to the Woody. Well, what did you do, Dad? Oh, I had that Rose Bowl. Like, no, they can now they can come back and say, your father went on the one of the most incredible runs in college football, where we beat, 6 of the top 10 teams in college football. We got this trophy, we got a Rose Bowl, a Cotton Bowl, and the Natty. Like, so for me, life is so much better for the Jack Sawyers, the JTs, the Will Howards, all of those guys that's been around. Maybe not Will, because he's been here for one and done, but he was the perfect quarterback for you. I tell you what, everybody was against Will Howard when the transfer portal first opened. Everybody wanted Dylan Gabriel, rightfully so. Dylan's a great player, but you end up getting Will Howard, and you ended up watching these kids just grow right before your very eyes. Like, you remember Will Howard in week 1? And
against Akron, right?
Yeah, you remember how terrible we couldn't even run the ball against Akron. You remember that?
It was bad. And people were like, we got this guy?
Yeah, it was all
the portal quarterback.
He was throwing ducks. You couldn't even throw the ball deep. The receivers would have to stop and come back to the ball. Now this dude hitting guys in stride for game on the line. Dot to Jeremiah Smith down the field. Like, that's what I'm talking about.
You got to do it.
Go ahead. No, we got a minute.
I was just going to say, like, it really is amazing the run that these guys have had and how much it's going to impact and change their lives. I thought about this morning, and I'm thinking about Will Howard. I'm like, this kid transfers. You know, he's got 1 year of eligibility. He comes to Ohio State. They have a great year. He puts up ridiculous numbers, but they lose to Michigan. And if they didn't have the 12-team playoff, they go home, or they go win, you know, the Verbo whatever, or the Cheez-It Bowl. Okay. Instead, they get to the college football playoff. They go on this magical run where they get a second chance at life, and Will Howard now becomes an Ohio State legend. Just like Cardell Jones with his run in the playoff the first year.
Never heard of him.
With Tyvis Powell. And so the difference between Will Howard and Kyle McCord, they both did the same thing basically. I mean, they had a great run last year. Kyle McCord obviously transfers, but they don't have a chance. Like, if Kyle McCord last year and the Buckeyes got into the playoff 12 teams, they could have won a title last year. Why not? They were very talented. But in the end of the day, this is a legendary run, and Will Howard is going to be considered an all-time Ohio State great for playing 1 year.
No doubt.
Just like Maurice Claret, by the way, 1 year.
That's right. And I think we're going to see in the upcoming years, we're going to see a lot of national champions that maybe don't look good early in the season because, as you guys said, there's so many transfer players.
It takes time to evolve, man.
Right. You got to, football more than any other sport,
you got to build
that
chemistry.
develop that chemistry, and it's going to take time, but they deserve all the kudos for that.